So how many subscribers do you have right now, currently, on your YouTube channel?
Right now I have 845,000 subscribers. I normally get around 1 million views each month on my channel. There's creators who consume that content themselves on a platform, and there's those who don't and only create. So I'm definitely one of the people who consumes a lot of YouTube content. Like, I do everything in my business. So I post things on YouTube, and I'm a video editor, and I'm a photo editor. And
so if, let's say, there's someone who wants to start their channel, do you think it's too late now to start something? Do you think all the niches or majority of niches are being filled?
No.
Or you think like it's an endless amount of opportunities? Hello, everyone. This is Annanesterova, and welcome to my podcast. Today at my podcast, my guest is Irene Rudnyk. Hi, Irene. For people who cannot see us, she's just waving at me and I'm waving back. For people who are watching us and can see the video, I just want to have a quick introduction. I just want to tell you that Irene is a photographer and content creator that was able to build a huge following on multiple social media platforms, and she's just a talented artist. And I've known Irene for many years. We actually met pretty much right away after I moved to Canada from Uzbekistan, and Irene came from Ukraine, and we met in Calgary. So our friendship goes a long way. And today we will be talking about Irene's story. And I'm so thrilled having you on my podcast. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm thrilled to share your story with the audience.
Thank you. Oh my God, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for having me and for such a nice introduction. I'm super excited as well.
Yeah, I think we should jump right in terms of, can you tell me, where did you grow up, how you ended up in Canada, and we will walk through your fantastic journey as an artist and how you found your true self in what you do. So can you tell me how it all started?
So I grew up in Ukraine and I lived there till I was 18. I'm originally from a very small town called Zhovkva, and I moved to Canada pretty much because of my parents. When Soviet Union broke apart, it was a really hard time for a lot of people. And so my dad at that time decided that he's going to search for better opportunities abroad, and he specifically chose Canada. And so my parents came to Canada before me and my siblings. And then once they were a little bit more established here, when they were able to find a better job and be able to buy a house, they brought me and my siblings to Canada as well. In the very beginning, I was not very happy to move to Canada, probably like a lot of 18-year-olds, But as the time went on, I then realized how much of a blessing it was for me, and especially for what I'm doing now. And I'm super grateful for my parents that they made such a decision, because living here brought so many opportunities that I don't think I would have had if I stayed back home. When it comes to photography and how it started for me, it started very early on. I remember being around maybe 10 to 12 when I was really getting into taking pictures. It was never anything even remotely professional. It was just for fun. And I really enjoyed the whole creative process of it. I would take pictures of my sister a lot. And I would just take one of the point and shoot film cameras that we had in our family. And I would do it like without my mom knowing, because if you remember, it was actually quite expensive to scan film and then develop it and then print it out. So I would take it. We would do these little photo shoots with my sister. We had so much fun doing them. And I was also really into making videos as well. I remember my dad sent me a little VHS camera from Canada to Ukraine. And I was really obsessed with making just little videos with my family and with the neighbor kids, with just my friends. It was just like a fun little hobby. And then that passion reignited again when I moved to Canada. So I'm 18, I moved to Canada, and me and my sister we were just a little bit bored at the very beginning. We didn't have that many friends. And so we would again do little photo shoots together. So we would just have fun setting things up like backdrops and thinking of what props we can use and dressing up, doing our hair and makeup and taking pictures of each other. And honestly, this is how it all started. Started with me just doing it for fun with my sister, then taking pictures of my friends. Actually, Anna was one of my first models. I took a lot of pictures of her when we first
That
met.
is true.
And then taking pictures of friends of friends. And then maybe those friends had some family member that wanted their pictures taken. So it then translated into me charging maybe like $50 or $100 for photo shoot. And yeah, and then it just snowballed into what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I believe, well, but I know you personally, so I guess it's my biased opinion because I know you for many years. But I think you would have had an extraordinary career regardless if you stayed in Ukraine or you came here. I understand that, yes, I think the opportunities are better or maybe they're a little bit easier to pursue in Canada. But I would also say that when you truly have talent and passion, and also I think what I know about you, you also have a persistence in you feel it, you're going to act on it. You have that self assuring knowledge that that's what you want to do and you pursue it. And I think that's very important. I hope this is what we can also touch on during this conversation, because I think it's important for people to understand it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you truly feel this is what you want to do, if you truly feel this is your calling, you can actually do so many amazing things from it. And I think your example is one of those, because I know how you started. I know how it was just a fun thing for you, but you were able to follow your own passion and follow those little steps. And you were able to build a massive following on YouTube, massive following on other social media platforms. And maybe you can tell a little bit more about how you started actually with YouTube, because I think when you started it, not many people really knew or could see that YouTube can be such a massive opportunity.
For sure. Yeah. And to add on what you said, I totally agree. In my opinion, like coming to Canada it definitely helped. And it more so helped to change the way I was thinking about certain things. Like it changed the way I view a lot of things. I think that if I did stay in Ukraine, I would still be doing something interesting, because like you said, I always follow my heart and I always follow my instincts. So I know I would be doing something. It's just I don't know what I would be doing. I actually think about it a lot, because I don't know if I would be even doing photography if I didn't come to Canada, because coming to Canada really reignited that like passion for photography for me. And I don't know if that would have happened if I stayed back home, but who knows? I don't know. That's the interesting part about it. But yeah, with YouTube, it started for me with watching YouTube. So there's a thing that I always discuss with a lot of my creator friends, specifically the ones that create on YouTube, or it can be even any other platform, is that there's creators who actually consume that content themselves on a platform, and there's those who don't and only create on the platform. So I'm definitely one of the people who consumes a lot of YouTube content as I create it as well. And actually, at the very beginning, I feel like it really helped me to learn English when I just came to Canada. I was watching a lot of YouTube and learning English that way.
And let's remind people, so that was about what, 2010, 2011, right? So I think the timing is also
I would say so. Yeah. And at that time, I knew that I think you could already monetize your channel. So I knew that it is possible to make money, but I personally never thought that I would make any money making YouTube videos. And it was never my intention to actually turn it into my job or my career, as it was. So I was looking at it just as something fun to do because, as I told you previously, I was really into making videos as well when I was growing up. So it was something that I was really interested in, and I thought that it was fun doing it. And so, yeah, I always wanted to make a YouTube channel. I just didn't know what to make it about. And so when I was learning photography, I'm a self-taught photographer. Everything that I know about photography, I learned by myself just on the internet. So I would go to YouTube to look up tutorials, to look up behind the scenes and learn more about photography. And at that time, I realized that it was heavily dominated by first of all, male photographers, and also older photographers, or photographers who were really focusing on the technical side of photography rather than the creative side, which is what I was mostly interested in. So I found that content to not be very relatable to me as a 20-year-old starting photographer, that especially also being a female or being a woman. And so, yeah, I always found that content to not be as interesting and not that relatable. So as soon as I felt like I have some knowledge that I can share with people, I thought, you know what, I should make the videos that I would like to see. Why not make videos that I would find relatable? And I'm sure there will be many other women, men, young photographers who would like that kind of content, something different from what I see on YouTube at that time. So that's what I did. I started making videos, and yeah, within probably a year of me making YouTube videos, I had a few of them that went not super viral, but they would get 500,000 views, a couple hundred views, which was crazy to me. I never expected something like that to happen. And then maybe within 2 years, I gained about 100,000 followers, subscribers. And then maybe within the third or fourth year, I actually started making more money with my social media on YouTube than I was with my clients. So at that point, I decided to quit working with my clients and fully transition into creating content and having YouTube as my full-time job. And this is where we are now.
This is where you are. I know. So how many subscribers do you have right now, currently, on the YouTube channel?
Right now I have 845,000 subscribers.
Yeah, but I think if to summarize all the views that you probably have multi-million count.
I normally get around 1 million views each month on my channel.
Yeah. Well, that's very impressive. And I want to go back to your statement when you said, I can follow my instincts, and I usually follow my instincts. I'd like to cover that because I think, and again, that's what I mean, you have that internal sense of, this is what I want to do, this I want to try, I'm not going to be scared of. And you also have that ability to change the direction. As you just said, you were working with your clients as a photographer, you were making money, you were building your own business, your own brand, but you saw the opportunity, the social media field, and you decided to deviate from that and become more of a creator. So I guess my question is, how do you think that works inside you in terms of, is it just a feeling, or is it your character? Can people learn something like that? How to be more brave about your decisions, changing things around, going against the flow, being that one person who decided to go and create a totally new type of videos on YouTube. So I'm just wanted to explore that, because I think many people, especially people who are watching my channel, I think they want to know how people pursue their passion, how they build their businesses, and what does it drive them, what drives them.
Definitely.
And I think you have that sense of, instincts, as you said. So I'd like to explore that with you. So tell me more.
Also, before that, I also changed direction where I went to school. I went to U of C here in Calgary. That's where me and Anna met. And I was
Yeah.
studying international relations at the university here in Calgary. And I finished 3 years there. I only had one more year left to get my bachelor's degree, but I decided to not to not pursue that anymore. And I pretty much quit school after the third year, because at that point I already knew that I wanted to pursue photography. And I knew that I was just wasting my time
And
and
money.
wasting money. Yes, wasting time and money with doing school, because I was so sure of myself that I wanted to do photography. But
Can I jump in here for just a quick
yeah.
moment? Especially being in a family of immigrants,
Oh yes.
that's a
Yeah.
huge decision. I think we need to put it in context as well.
Yeah.
I think for the North American students, maybe it's not as bad of a decision, or
Right.
it's not a stigmatized move.
Mm-hmm.
While I know, if you're coming from a different place and you are an immigrant, that's the first thing that you usually hear from your parents
Oh,
and from your peers. You need to have your education. So I think we just need to put it in a context how
yeah,
hard it was to go
for sure.
against that pressure.
I mean, my grandma still asks me if I'm going to finish school, you know? Like almost every time I talk to her, she's asking me if I'm still going to get my degree. Yeah, it's extremely important in the for a lot of immigrants, right? For a lot, like it's
Yeah.
the same in the Asian community,
Yes.
or the Eastern European community. Yeah, it's a big deal, and it was a hard decision for me. It was very scary delivering that message to my parents, knowing how they're gonna react. But I think one thing is I've always been a very confident person. Honestly, I don't even know where it comes from. I sometimes I ask them myself. Um, I think maybe I get it from my dad, because he has had a lot of different businesses throughout his entire life. He's always been very business savvy and always trying new things. And so growing up, I saw him go for these things and it working out for him. And so I feel like maybe that gave me some, like, that confidence to also go for it. And also, I've always had kind of like a second plan B if my first plan doesn't work out. So when I decided to quit school, my plan B was that if it does not work out for myself, I gave myself a year pretty much. I gave myself a year to achieve certain goals that I put for myself with photography. And if I couldn't achieve those goals, I decided that I will go back to school, because you can always go back to school,
Yep.
right? And thankfully, I achieved those goals and I was able to stay doing photography. And it was like a confirmation for myself as well that this is a right choice and this is something that I should be doing. So, yeah, I think it's always nice to have that second plan B, in case something doesn't work out. But it was definitely something within me inside that told me that this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing. Not only did I realize that I was good at it, but I also knew that it brings me just so much happiness doing what I'm doing. Also, I understood that there's so many different ways of making money as a photographer. There's not a single path in there. I mean, you can be a wedding photographer, portrait photographer, event photographer, newborn photographer, like taking pictures of pets. You can make money taking pictures and putting them into prints. You can be making money selling, like upselling people on albums, and you can create content, or you can be creating content for other people, for other brands. I mean, it's like countless, it can go into so many different ways. So I knew that there is bound to be like a way for me to figure it out. Yeah. Can you learn it? That's a very interesting question. I feel like you can. I feel like you can definitely train yourself to be a more confident person,
and take risks.
Yeah. The way you would learn it is to, like you said, to take risk and actually do what scares you. Because once you do something that really scares you, you will realize how insignificant it actually was, and that it wasn't actually that scary, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can definitely build that confidence by starting, and it can start with something like very small. Like for example, when I was starting out doing photography, I was so used to shooting with like friends and family. I knew that the next step for me would be to start shooting with clients, like people that I have never
Hmm.
met, pretty much strangers, which is kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
You have to have good people skills and not be awkward and be very confident in what you're doing. And when you're starting out, it is very, very scary. And I stalled doing that for a while. And then once I started shooting with those people, with strangers and clients, I realized how actually easy it is, and that made me a much more confident person and made me definitely believe in my skill a lot more. So yeah, just doing things that scare you.
Yeah. No, I love that. I believe that myself. So I think I know people probably hear it all the time, but that's the only way, really.
Mm-hmm.
It is the only way. Take
Mm-hmm.
risks, get out of your comfort zone, try something new.
Yeah.
And I like that plan B situation too. I think it's a very rational, very smart way of doing it. So even if you have some doubts, still go and try it, but have that way back so you
Mm-hmm.
feel more comfortable with what you are doing.
There's always going to be doubts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you
Yeah.
can't escape it. And there's going to be doubts, not just within you, there will be doubts within people around
Hmm.
you. My parents, and they definitely weren't doing this in any malicious way. Again, this is just like most parents don't want their kids to do anything drastic or anything that's too out of the norm, right? Because they
Yeah.
want a safe path for their children. So my parents definitely were not, I don't think they really believed in what
Hmm.
can be achieved in this sphere. I don't think they thought that photographers can make a lot of money. So at the very beginning, they told me that it's probably not going to work, especially my dad. Although, again,
He was.
yes, he was like very much an entrepreneur when he
Yeah.
was young, but I guess he's also with age, you become like very, what's the word, realistic, right? It's
Yeah.
like he's looking at it with like a realistic view.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I definitely had a lot of doubts from a lot of people, right? But I just had to know, like I just know that if I never took that chance, that I would be wondering about it my whole life. Like if I continued school and doing something with international relations, whatever that would be, my career in that, I think I would be wondering my whole life, what if I tried, so I just
Yeah.
knew I had to at least try.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And obviously, again, we're looking at you right now. So your instincts were right and your confidence definitely helped. And I think once you make that first step, then other steps will show up.
Mm,
And that's the beautiful part about, I think, when you following your passion, once you open the door, it seems like other doors are starting opening up.
mm,
And I also remember when I was maybe you can relate to the two. So when you're in your early 20s, you feel like if something is wrong, you will never get, to the next level, or you have so many doubts. But when you look back now, let's say
mm,
we look back at the 10 years before, you can definitely see once you're making the step in the right direction, the next door is opening up, the next
mm-hmm,
one is opening up. And it's just your job is to completely, fully open and give in and do your
mm-hmm,
best. Right? Would
for
you
sure.
agree? It seems like it
Yeah,
just starts rolling.
yeah, no, for sure.
So I hope people who are listening to us, if that's something they are considering, I think it can definitely, we can both say, like, looking back, you can always feel that new doors will open.
Mm-hmm,
Let's talk more about one thing you mentioned before. Is like when you started doing your YouTube channel and watching
mm-hmm,
YouTube channel. Watching YouTube and thinking about your own YouTube channel. You said, and you were one of a few female creators at the
mm-hmm,
time in the
mm-hmm,
space.
mm-hmm.
And how did it change since then? So the last 10 years. Can you
Uh-huh.
tell me more?
Mm. I mean, photography is a male dominated field,
Hmm.
from the start of, like, from the conception of photography. There were not I mean, women were not really allowed into the photography space as much. They couldn't afford it, or they weren't taken seriously. So it's still to this day very much male dominated. And so when I started YouTube, I was definitely one of few. I was definitely one of few women creating that kind of content that I was creating, and especially having the kind of audience that I do. I'm trying to think if there's other women on YouTube who are photographers that have the same amount of followers that I do. There's few channels. There's one channel, Tony and Chelsea, where they're a couple. But I'm trying to think. Maybe my channel might be the biggest in photography when it comes to like women. So yeah, it's still very, very heavily dominated by male photographers. Although, like, I remember at the very beginning, it almost seemed like a disadvantage to me. It turned out to be a big advantage in the end. I almost filled a niche that was needed in the YouTube space. Not only just being a woman, but creating the kind of content that I do that focuses more on the creative side of photography rather than the technical side, and just showing the whole process of doing photo shoots. Also, a lot of educators, the thing is that you can be a really good educator without being a good photographer, and you can be a really good photographer and not a good educator. So there's a lot of really great educators on YouTube, but I wouldn't say that their photography is like groundbreaking in any way. They have great photography, but it's not that much different, or it's not that much interesting. And, I don't want to like toot my own horn or come off a little bit too confident here, but I think the difference for me was that I'm a good educator, and also my photography stood out against other educators on YouTube. I have a very particular style and a very particular way that I photograph. So it just, I think, is a little bit more unique than maybe some of the other content out there. Yeah, and I have this particular niche, which is so, so important for like any kind of business. I feel like finding your true voice, your true niche, and something that just makes you stand out against other people in the same industry.
So if, let's say, there's someone who wants to start their channel, and which could be related to photography, do you think it's too late now to start something? Do you think all the niches or majority of niches are being filled, or you think like it's an endless amount of opportunities?
I don't think it's ever late to start anything. Maybe the thing is that, sure, now it's more saturated. There's more creators, but also when I was starting out, there were a lot less opportunities for things, and now there's a lot more. So there's always going to be things, right? Like, I shouldn't start now because there's too many people doing it. I shouldn't start now because I don't have the correct camera. I shouldn't start now because I don't have whatever it is, there's always going to be something. So I would say that there's no good time to start something there, so you should just start it now. So if you're thinking about it, just do it. It doesn't matter if you have something valuable for the world to see, and you're confident that someone will find it valuable, then you should just share it, right? That's it. I wish I started earlier. I remember at the very beginning, I had this weird thing. I started first with Instagram. So I started my Instagram. I was posting my photography there. And I told myself that I will start making YouTube videos when I reach 10,000 followers on Instagram. Because in my head, I thought that will give me a better start to my channel. And I thought that I also will be able to bring those followers from Instagram to YouTube. But in reality, it doesn't really work that way. And again, it didn't help in any way. Having those 10,000 followers on Instagram, it would have been better just to start YouTube earlier. Because at the very beginning, it's not going to be great. And you're probably not going to have that many people watching. But you just have to start.
And be persistent. That's another thing,
Yeah.
probably. Because I
Yeah.
feel like that's another thing, and I know about you. So it's not just, hey, I've tried 5 videos, I'm going to give up. No, I'm going to keep doing it. I keep doing
Oh,
it, changing
yeah.
things around, trying things. I think it's another big portion of the success that you can achieve with
Mm,
social media or any business, really. Like it is,
mm-hmm.
all the principles are applicable to so many different
Yeah.
areas. It's just consistency that matters.
Yes. A lot of people want to start social media right now because it looks easy and it seems very lucrative, right? And so I get these questions all the time of people asking, how do I start a YouTube channel? Should I start it? Photographers specifically asking me, or should I start like posting on Instagram? Should I start posting on TikTok? I always ask them, like, why do you want to do it? Do you want to do it specifically to do it, because everyone else is doing it? Or do you want to do it because, again, you have something important or interesting to share and you actually want to share it with people? So intention also matters a lot, in my opinion. Right now, there's so many creators who are doing what they're doing not really for the right reasons, and it's very obvious. So you should ask yourself, like, what is the intention behind it? Why you want to create this content? And if the sole intention is to like make money off of YouTube or any social media, then it's probably not going to work, because like you said at the very beginning, and for me it lasted years, I wasn't making anything from social media, like absolutely, like nothing. I mean, to compare, maybe I would make like $100 or $200 a month, from YouTube revenue. Like that's nothing, right? That's pretty much, I would waste more money on creating content rather than making money off of it. But the thing is that I was doing it because it was fun for me and I saw value in it, and I saw that other people really enjoy it. I saw that it was that other people actually found it useful and it was helping them, and so I
Yeah.
stuck with it, and then slowly it turned into something that I was making money off of.
Yeah. Well, you touched on it already in terms of it was a long time to develop, but I wanted to go into more stories about challenges that you faced, because everything's, always people with successful stories, they sound so bright and everything is just amazing and everything is easy. It sounds so easy. However, I think it's important to talk about challenges and how to overcome them. So can you tell me what types of challenges do you remember that you had to overcome through your journey? Because I think you had a few,
Yeah. For
like everyone
sure.
else, but it would be nice to know.
Definitely. I think one of the biggest challenges for what I do, well, first of all, I'm a one person show. Like I do everything in my business. So I promote my content on social media. So I'm a social media manager. I'm a PR representative. Like I am the creative director, and I post things on YouTube, and I'm a video editor, and I'm a photo editor, and everything, right? So I do everything myself. I'm my own accountant, So that's a challenge, right? Because when you work for yourself, you have to find like the willingness to actually like show up to work every day, right?
Yep.
So that was one of the challenges for me, and still is, just trying to be consistent with what I do, and yeah, just like showing up and not giving up on what I'm doing, constantly coming up with new things as well and reinventing what I'm doing. Another one, but the biggest one for me is like creative blocks. So because my job is so intertwined with the art part of it, um, if I'm not feeling inspired, I'm not going to have any content to post. So, and if I'm not having any content to post, that I'm not going to be making money, right? So it's, yeah, it's a hard thing to do where, and you can't make yourself be inspired. I mean, you can help with things, but it's very hard. It's a very hard thing to overcome. So what really helped me is whenever I get into a creative block, first of all, I remember that it's like inevitable. It's just, it is going to happen, because you cannot, we're not machines. We are not wired to just like go, 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 go at the same all the time. You're just going to crash at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So just understanding that it's going to happen and it's inevitable and then it's normal and that everyone goes through this really helped me. And then once it does happen, I remind myself that it's okay to pause and take the time for yourself, and that it is better to maybe earn a little bit less that month and recover mentally and then go again. So that's what I do normally. If I feel a little bit of the creative block, I just take a little bit of the time off. I do things that I like that have nothing to do with work. I take a bubble bath. I watch some movies. I read a book. I go on a walk. And I'm okay, again, with like making less money that month. I think, again, it's a lot more important for my mental health. So yeah, that was one thing that I realized, that sometimes it's better to just sacrifice on some things, especially when it comes to like the monetary gain. Some things are more important.
Yeah. But that's why people are getting into burnouts so often. That's exactly the reason. I think not being able to realize that they need to step back. And I think one plus, it can be seen as a plus, even though sometimes, as you said, it can be challenged. When you're working for yourself, on one hand side, you're responsible for everything, but on the other hand side, you also have that ability to step back a little bit, which I think is a luxury. Well, for so many people, that's not something they can do, right? Because their job, if they're working a corporate job, or it depends, of course, like in the healthcare field, like you have to work. You can't just say, hey, I don't feel like it today. Like, I think
you're so right. I didn't even think about it. I'm so used to working for myself because I've been doing this for years that I honestly didn't even think about it. Yeah, many people don't have that privilege to take a walk and take a bath. You're 100% right.
Yeah, but I think the world is changing towards that direction. I hope it is, because I think, even from my experience, I think it's very important to realize where's that almost at breaking point for yourself. Maybe for you, it's on the creative side of things. For me, maybe it's just for energy level. Like there is a point where I'm like, okay, I don't have energy to pursue. And if I don't have energy to pursue with my work, it's almost counterproductive to push myself through it. So I'd rather take a little step back and feel fine about it and move on with new energy and with better results.
And the thing is that I've noticed, nowadays we have such a like grind culture, where it's glorified to be constantly working, and to have these days where you wake up like super early, you start work, and it's almost like frowned upon to take the time for yourself and, to not be productive like every second of the day. And I think, like, again, maybe it works for some people. It does not work for me. I really can't, like, my brain would not be able to take it. Like, I need a break from time to time, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think people like that exist. I think some people may say it, or maybe I don't know any, but I think everyone needs a break. There's no way that someone can go for, 14 hours with no breaks and feel fine for a long time.
I agree. I think you're 100% right that those people really don't exist, because again, we're not machines, we're not robots. You can't do it. But I think that this kind of culture makes I'll just say from my own experience, it makes me feel lazy. It makes me feel like I am not doing more, like I should be doing more. I should be grinding more. I should be achieving more things. But sometimes, like you said, for me personally, it would be counterproductive because like that just doesn't work for me. Like that kind of mindset, that kind of culture.
Yeah. And where do you get your inspiration? What inspires you? Because I think for any type of work, and especially for creative process, you need to find a way or places or people to get that inspiration from. So I'm curious to know, what is your inspiration? What do you draw your ideas?
There's so many things that inspire me. I think, so one of the things for my photo shoots, like I said, I pretty much do everything. I scout the locations. I style my photo shoots. A lot of the times I do hair and makeup, and I will do the editing. And that whole process, and the reason why I do all of this is not because like, it's because I love it. It's because I actually enjoy every single part of the process. That's why I do it myself. And so because I enjoy the whole process, it can be any part of the process that inspires me. So, for example, if I find a really cool costume that I want to use for a photo shoot, it will inspire me. If I found a location that's very beautiful, it will inspire me for a photo shoot. If I saw a model that I really like and I want to work with, they might inspire me for the photo shoot. Yeah, any little thing like that is a part of the a prop that I can use in the photo shoot, it can inspire me. Like right now I'm waiting for the lilacs to bloom because I absolutely love that, and whenever I see a bunch of lilacs outside blooming, I just want to grab my camera and go and take pictures. Movies inspire me a lot. I love watching beautiful movies, a lot of period pieces, because I love vintage fashion. What else? Other photographers, other artists, doesn't even have to be specifically photography. I love impressionist paintings. I love looking at the way other artists combine colors and the way they use them, so that can inspire me. But honestly, it's like I feel like everywhere I look, I get inspired by things.
Yeah.
So it can be so many things.
Yeah, but I think that's a true artist speaking, right? Because many things can inspire an artist for great things. And
it's always funny to me whenever I am traveling with a friend photographer, or just let's say that I'm like going on a coffee date with a friend photographer, and we will always notice similar things, that maybe other people don't. Like we will stare at some spot that looks really cool. Or again, like the colors are eye-catching, and we'll both be like, you know what, this would be a good spot for a photo shoot. So it's always at the back of my head. I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah. I actually have a question here while we're talking about inspiration, and it's a very trending question. Is the emergence of AI and how AI is taking slowly but surely, and maybe not that slowly anymore, that creative space, let's call it that way.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know what's your opinion around that subject, because it's trending everywhere. Everyone is talking about it.
Yeah.
Every day we have something new.
Sure.
Someone created something.
Yeah, we can have like a whole hours and hours discussing it, I feel like, But shortly, you know what? My opinion changes on it all the time, probably as fast as it's changing. And that's how my opinion is changing on it. But I recently saw a very interesting comment online, and it really made me think about it in a different way. Okay, so like to quickly reiterate where I saw the comment. So recently, there's this photography association, and they do a photography contest every year, and the photographer that won like a portrait photographer of the year award was definitely using AI generated images. Like it was very, very obvious. And so a lot of the photographers in the community were not happy about it, because a lot of people don't consider that to be photography, right? I mean, I don't consider that to be photography. I would consider it to be digital art.
Yeah.
Right. And so there was a lot of discussion going on in there. But this one comment that I saw, so they said that at the beginning, when photography just was created and was starting out, at that time, it was not considered art either. At that time, people would say that photography is lazy because you're clicking a button instead of spending hours painting something, right? Because before that, you would go to an artist, you would sit for hours and hours posing while they meticulously like paint you. And it would be extremely expensive, right? Like not everyone would afford to get a beautiful portrait from an artist, right? And an artist would have spent years and years training to become so skilled at that, right? And now here comes photography, where you can learn it relatively quickly. Like you can learn how to mix the chemicals and pour them, and you do just pretty much press a button and it will take a picture, right?
Mhm.
So people at that time were arguing that that's not art and that's easy and anyone can click a button. So, how is that? That's nothing comparing to like the artists who paint, right? And I was thinking, like, is this what's happening with AI art right now, where it's so easy to create and it does take just like a click to do, right? And we are not considering it as art because it's so accessible to everyone and cheap. So I do wonder if we're going to change our mind in a few years, how we change with photography, because photography is considered art now. You can't say that it's not artistic, right? So I don't know what to think about it. I think it's going to be a part of our world very quickly, and people might change the way they think about it in a few years, and it might be considered a different art form. I don't think it will ever replace photography specifically. I've seen the programs where you can upload your images and they will use your face, and then AI will create like the corporate shots. I've seen those corporate headshots or other ones. To me, they don't look great right now. They probably will look way better in the future. But I still don't think that will ever replace actual photography, because photography for me and for a lot of the clients that I work with and models, it's not even just about the finished result. It's a lot about the process as well.
And what is it about the process? You mean like the getting ready?
Yes.
Posing?
Yes.
So that's what you mean by the process?
Yes, exactly. So and also for me as an artist, I really enjoy the process of it. So I don't think I will be maybe I will be using elements of AI generated images in my post-production, stuff like that, or to come up with ideas. There's going to be a way that I'm going to be using it in the future for sure. But I don't think that it will completely replace photography. So again, I don't know what is going to happen in the future and how it's going to go. It's definitely going to be a part of our lives for sure. So I don't fear it, and I don't think it's going to be specifically bad. There's definitely going to be some bad things about it, but there's going to be a lot of really good things about it. So I'm just excited about new technology. So,
I just thought for both of us, we actually live in times when we were kids, were using just that small portable photo cameras with film. That was the way for us to take photos, and went from there all the way to digital photography, all the way to Photoshop images, all the way to social media and phone, when you can just take a photo on your phone, then you can actually now apply filters to your face, all the way to AI actually creating images or augment images.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait what we'll see, in the next 20 years. So I think it's just fantastic.
I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years.
I know.
It's happening really fast.
Yeah, but just photography itself, because I think every person is touched by photography one way or another. It's just the way how we are, right? Like from again, early age, when you take those photos with your friends, and then you go to the shop to get to exchange your film for printed images, etc. So I think all of us experience that change, but it's just amazing and fantastic how we are moving forward and what's going to happen next.
Yeah. For sure.
But I think the personal part that you mentioned is very interesting, because I think, potentially the process of taking a photo and being true that who you are is probably will stick around.
Maybe in the future, this will be reserved just for rich people. I don't know. Maybe in the future, the kind of photography that we do now is, again, AI will be really cheap and people won't be able to afford doing a real photo shoot. I don't know. Maybe something like this. I don't know. But again, we'll see how things go. I know that for myself, adapting is just something you have to do. Because like you said, this is just one thing that changed, but things are changing constantly, like constantly. And so for me in particular, TikTok became a thing. A short content became a
Yeah.
thing. I wasn't making that before,
Yeah.
and I had to adapt. And
Yeah.
if I didn't, I would be out. So there's always something that you have to adapt to, and you have to really understand that the world is always changing. You cannot be like a grumpy old man and just be like, in the old times we did things this way and it was better. Like, you can't do that, because it's always going to change in some way. And to stay relevant, to stay in the loop, you have to constantly reinvent yourself, learn something new, and adapt to the new things.
Golden words. Can't agree more. I also just remembered right before we started our recording, we were talking about your workshops and how you are presenting and teaching people. Can you share that story with the audience? Because I think it's an interesting story and it's something to learn from
For
it
sure.
too.
So for me, I've been creating content, and my content is educational. So it's kind of like presenting something, but online and pre-recorded, right? And I have full control over how I'm going to say it, how I'm going to edit it. And I got really comfortable at doing that. And I've always been not so confident doing in-person talks or talking in front of a big audience specifically. It's scary just in general. It's scary to present with a live audience. Again, you don't have as much control. You might say something wrong and then you might stall. So it's a scary thing to do, but like we talked about it earlier, you got to do things that scare you to progress and to become a better person, just in general, right? So I knew that I wanted to start doing more presentations, presenting at different photography events, at different photography conventions. It was something that I wanted to do for a while, but I wasn't invited to any of these. And I don't know why I was not invited to do these things. I think because I didn't really have any experience doing them. So all of the other people that were invited were the ones that do it constantly, do it every year. There's actually some photographers in the industry that are famous for specifically doing these kind of events. They might not even have a huge social media following, but they're really good at presenting, right? So yeah, for the longest time, I was just kind of waiting. I was like, well, maybe if I have more followers, they will invite me, And each year I was not invited. Finally last year, I decided that I guess I'm just going to have to ask myself, what's that saying? Like, if the mountain, you go to the mountain, mountain goes to you.
Yeah, if the mountain doesn't come to you, you go to the mountain.
That's right. So I decided I just need to go to the mountain. I talked to some of my friends at Canon, since I'm a Canon ambassador, and I asked them if there's any events that are upcoming where they need a speaker. And I told them, I don't have any experience speaking at the events live like this, but I have an audience and I have a lot of knowledge that I want to share, and I'm really excited, really want to do this. And they told me, oh yeah, for sure, we have lots. And they were like, we didn't know that you wanted to do stuff.
They probably
like
jumped on it. Yeah, they probably
right,
said, what?
because so it was like this circle, right? Never-ending circle of like, well, I don't do it, but because I don't do it, people think that I don't want to do it. So I was like, oh no, I've wanted to do it for years. I just never been invited to these things. So I did an event for them, a speaking event, and went really, really great. There were lots of people that came. They loved my presentation. I loved presenting. It was so much fun. And since then, I've been invited to do many more events. Like I'm going to be doing event in Canmore. And then after that, I'm doing event here in Calgary for Vistec. So yeah, sometimes, I've realized that you just have to ask for things. You literally just have to ask and not wait for them to happen to you. No matter how, I really thought that is just a given. Like it will come, like someone will invite me. but they weren't, right? So sometimes you just have to ask for it. You have to literally go in and be like, hey, I want this.
Yeah.
I
No,
can do this. Do you want to give it to me?
love it. No, it's again, amazing story, amazing example of, you know what, if you feel it, just go for it, try it. And you can be surprised that people say,
You
yeah,
will
sure.
you honestly will be surprised. Even this is at like a higher level where I already have connections with people like from Canon, right? And not everyone has that. But let's say at the start of my career, there were few models that I really wanted to work with. And I remember one of them had 1 million followers on Instagram. And I mean, nowadays a lot of people have 1 million followers on Instagram, but this was like years ago, and that was a big deal. And I didn't have that many followers. In my head, I thought there's no way she's going to want to work with me. Like, she's not going to even see the message that I'm going to send her. What's even the point of me asking? But then I was just like, okay, but whatever. Like, she's not going to see it anyways. I'm just going to send it. So I sent her a DM, and what do you think? She saw it, she replied, and we did a photo shoot together. And it was amazing, right? So if I never asked for it, it would never happen. And what's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no. Okay. Like, then you move on to the next thing. But at least you know that you took the chance and you asked.
Yeah. Very valuable lesson. And I think it's just the true of life. You have to. Otherwise, you're not going to, I mean, you may progress, but I think you will progress much quicker if you start asking and pursuing your own wishes and desires.
Yeah.
And being able to hear no sometimes, being able to react okay if somebody ignores you. I think this is another part where I find that some people feel maybe hardship with, like, oh, someone didn't reply. Because I've had before similar situations in the sense of, like, someone doesn't reply, but it doesn't mean anything. You just keep going, keep asking.
That's what keeps you from asking these questions, right? Or asking for these things, is because it's the fear of rejection. But again, you will get rejected. Like, it's just gonna happen. Here's another example. So for years, I've been a Canon shooter since the very, very beginning of my career. I've always shot with Canon cameras. And I've reached out to Canon myself multiple times. I've emailed them many times before, when I already had a bigger audience as well. And I never got a response from them. Never. Until one day, they messaged me and asked me to be an ambassador. So, like, things will happen. Things like that will happen. And I already had a really big following. I remember emailing to Canon when I was maybe at like 300,000 followers. That was a lot of followers. And they've had ambassadors with way less than that, And so I felt like, well, they should, take me in. And I was definitely a little bit upset that they never responded to me. But that didn't stop me from asking them, right? And that definitely didn't stop me from doing photography or pursuing other things, right? Or pursuing things with other brands. So yeah, you will definitely get rejected, probably a bunch of times, but you will also, people will also say yes to things, right?
Yeah. I agree. I'm trying to think what else we want to cover, because we are running out of time, and I have so many. I mean, obviously, the two of us can talk for hours, I'm sure, but I'm just trying to think what else can we share in a short time frame in terms of your experiences. I think maybe to summarize your experience since you moved to Canada to the point where you are, what type of work was done. I just want to emphasize how much effort that took, despite the fact that you do have that sense of confidence, you do have passion, but it takes a lot of work, and you have to encourage yourself. How did you stay positive? How did you stay encouraging for your own self? So what was your journey in that?
Yeah. I always tell people that one of the most important things is to do what you love. There's always going to be trends. There's always going to be, or someone is doing this and it's working for them really well, or someone's doing that and it works for them really well. So there's always going to be things like that, but you should always stay true to yourself and do things that make you happy. Because when you do that, other people will notice that. If you love what you're doing, someone else will love it as well. And it will inspire those people as well. And they will feel and they will relate to that as well. So, I've had so much different advice going into photography. People told me the kind of work that I do, which is like very fantasy, almost like portraits. They told me there's no market for that. Who's gonna pay you for that kind of stuff? You should stick with maybe like weddings, which was terrible advice, by the way. And yeah, I listened to it at the beginning, and then I realized that I'm not staying true to myself. I don't like doing weddings, and it was very obvious, I think, that I didn't enjoy doing that. And as soon as I started doing what I enjoy, I actually started making more money. So yeah, finding that passion and finding something that you really, really love will just be amazing. Once you find that, you have to stick with it and just continue doing what you love. And yeah, you're going to have lots of people telling you all sorts of advice, but the most important thing is just listening to yourself, listening to your own intuition. And again, I'm repeating myself already, but yeah, just doing what you love. It's honestly, it sounds so easy, right? And so like simple, but that's how I've done it this whole time.
But not everyone knows, and sometimes people may be lying to themselves too, right? So I think it sounds easy. Everyone says so, but in reality, when I meet people and different types of people, it seems like some people are still scared to find that love and passion, or they're scared to lose the stability of their life. But again, going back to having plan B, because even for you still were working and making money on other things while pursuing what you were planning to pursue. I think it's just a smart way of doing things, but it's possible. And I think that's my key message to the audience, is just everything is possible. You can achieve literally anything. It's just more of a, how you're going to pursue it. Do you have that confidence in you? Can you feel what you feel, and being true to yourself, like you said? And just, not being scared to step out of their comfort zone, which you did so many times based on everything you shared today.
And
so I think it just shows.
Surrounding yourself with people who inspire you and who support you is really important as well. I think, again, Anna was like a great supporter of mine at the very beginning. She's always my husband has always been very, very supportive of what I do. And so having those people, like a lot of my friends, that inspire me and support me was a really great thing as well. And if your friends are dragging you down and telling you that you can't do that, you shouldn't be doing this, then it's probably not a great idea to surround yourself with people like that. 100%. I'm always inspired by other artists, or it doesn't have to be artists. It can be just people in business or successful people in any kind of sphere, right? Having friends like that is very inspiring, and it makes me want to succeed as well. So like, yeah, surrounding yourself with these kind of people is always amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's perfect. And for this interview, thank you so much for joining me today. It was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you guys are interested to see more of me, you can check out my YouTube channel or check out my social media if you want to learn about photography. Yes, thank you, Anna, so much for having me on your podcast.
I'll leave the links below the video. I'll leave all the information about your channel everywhere that I will post the podcast. And we should probably even post one of the videos that we did like many, many, many years ago.
Yes.
That'd be fun to see.
Show where it all started, yeah.
It all started, yeah, and the progress. Anyway, well, thank you so much.